Your grandfather could walk outside, set a barrel under his downspout, and collect enough clean rainwater to sustain his household for weeks. It cost him nothing. Today, that same barrel carries a $500 fine in Colorado and a $250 penalty in California. 25 water methods that once kept American families sovereign for generations have been systematically criminalized, not because the science said they were dangerous. Federal studies now confirm most of them worked. They were restricted because a powerful trade association recognized something alarming. Every family that captured its own water was a customer lost. That story begins on the roof of your house. A century ago, the roof over your head didn't just keep out the rain, it filled the barrel that kept your family alive. Galvanized gutters, hammered into the eaves with hand-cut nails, caught every drop and funneled it to a waiting drum. The average rural household in the 1930s spent less than $15, about $260 in today's money, on a setup that could supply weeks of water. No permit, no inspection, no bill. Maintenance was a matter of pride. Barrels scrubbed clean each spring, gutters checked for leaks, and the runoff kept for laundry, livestock, and sometimes drinking if you trusted the sky more than the well. That old system, simple as it was, is now a legal minefield. In Colorado, a barrel beneath your downspout is capped at 110 gallons without a permit. Go over the line, and the state can hit you with a $500 fine. The penalty is not hidden in fine print. It is written into the Colorado Revised Statutes, pushed by the Colorado Water Conservation Board. The stated reason is every drop you keep is one less flowing downstream, one less gallon for the utility's meter. The Water Trust and municipal lobbyists made their case in 2018, arguing that household barrels threaten the state's carefully portioned water rights. The real threat, they argued, was lost revenue and lost control. In California, the rules tighten further. A rain barrel larger than 55 gallons triggers a $250 penalty unless it is fitted with a first flush diverter. The California Health and Safety Code, lobbied by the Water Resources Control Board and utility interests, demands that the first runoff, the dirtiest, loaded with dust and bird droppings, never makes it into the barrel. The diverter itself, once a wooden box cobbled together for pennies, is now a regulated device. Plastic diverter kits sell for $12, but the real cost is compliance. A permit, a certified installer, a record in the county office. The justification is always public health, but the effect is unmistakable. Barriers layered atop what was once ordinary household work. The shift didn't come because the old ways failed. The Environmental Protection Agency's 2022 Green Infrastructure Toolbox, a document few homeowners ever see, confirms that rooftop capture systems reduce storm runoff by nearly 40% and supply over 1,000 liters of irrigation water per year. The USDA's 2021 Manual on Rain Barrel best practices found that first flush diverters cut bacterial contamination by 96%. The science is settled. The methods work. Yet the law says otherwise. State boards and utility authorities are the new gatekeepers. The homeowner, once sovereign, now suspect, faces a wall of rules. Each gallon held back from the grid is a gallon counted as lost to the system, and that loss is measured in dollars and political power. The price of independence is now a line item in the penalty schedule. A barrel under the eaves, a diverter at the downspout. These are no longer signs of prudence, but acts that can bring a fine. The logic is clear. When every roof is a potential reservoir, every family is a potential customer lost. This is how the countdown begins, with the roof, the barrel, and the law that turned self-reliance into a liability. The story of water independence in America is not just about lost knowledge, It is about the deliberate narrowing of what you are allowed to do on your own land, and the quiet transfer of power from the household to the boardroom. Beneath the farmhouses of the Midwest, concrete cisterns once held the memory of every hard rain. Families dug these vaults by hand, 8 feet down, bricked and sealed with lime, covered with a wooden lid that was lifted each spring for cleaning. By the 1920s, a 10,000-gallon precast tank cost $250, about $3,900 today. It was a one-time investment. That cistern meant the difference between drought and survival, a hidden reserve that could last a family through months of dry weather. There was no paperwork, no oversight, just the quiet assurance that water independence was literally underfoot. Today, that independence is a legal fiction. In Texas, the water code draws a bright red line at 5,000 gallons. Any cistern larger than that, even if buried beneath your own foundation, demands a permit, $150 minimum. If a single drop escapes to the surface, the law treats it as an illegal discharge, triggering federal NPDES penalties. The Texas Water Development Board, backed by bottled water giants and state contractors, lobbied for the 2015 amendment. Their stated motive was to protect water quality. The real effect is to make self-sufficiency a bureaucratic ordeal, with every gallon accounted for and every tank mapped in a state database. The Department of Energy's 2020 review found that these underground cisterns, when used off-grid, can reliably supply 150 liters per day, enough for a small household in the Texas desert. The science is unambiguous, the law just makes them harder. Not far away, in the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, the hand-dug well was the answer to every dry spell. Grandparents spent weeks with shovels and augers, lining the shaft with stone, installing a wooden bucket pump at the top. The cost, $30 for stone and 120 hours of labor, bought a well that could last generations. Every morning, the creak of the hand pump was the sound of self-reliance. Water was drawn as needed, the well covered tight to keep out debris, and the pump oiled each spring. There was no meter, no monthly bill, and no official record, just a family's own effort and vigilance. Now, that same well is a point of suspicion. Pennsylvania Code 71/2010-15 requires every well under 9 meters to be registered and inspected every 2 years. The inspection costs $200, paid directly to the county. The regulation was championed by the Pennsylvania Rural Water Association, a group that claims to protect private well owners but draws its funding from municipal utilities. Their justification is public health and groundwater safety. The practical result is a slow squeeze, each inspection another opportunity to flag non-compliance, each fee a reminder that the state, not the homeowner, holds the keys to the water below. A recent USGS study from 2023 confirms what every rural family already knew. A properly maintained hand pump well yields 15 to 30 liters per minute with less than 0.2% contamination. The evidence is clear, but the regime of permits and inspections has shifted the burden from the family to the board. What was once a matter of daily routine is now a regulated privilege, granted or revoked at the discretion of the county office. The pattern is unmistakable. Where grandfathers built vast reserves underground and drew from them at will, today's homeowner faces a maze of permits, fees, and inspections. The logic is always the same. Self-sufficiency is treated as a threat to the system, not a virtue. Each gallon held back is a gallon not sold, a customer not counted. The loss is measured not only in dollars, but in the erosion of autonomy, one regulation at a time. Spring water once defined rural self-sufficiency. In the Ozarks and across the Midwest, families built spring houses, simple log frames over stone basins to chill milk and keep water pure. Timber and stone cost less than $100 in today's terms. Water rose from the earth, flowed through a shallow stone trough, and stayed cold year-round. Each morning, leaves and insects were skimmed away, and planks were replaced as they rotted. For generations, this was the safest water a household could claim, filtered by soil, chilled by earth, untouched by any meter or bill. That autonomy is now rationed. Missouri law caps unpermitted spring extraction at 50 gallons a day. The Missouri Water and Power Association, worried about commercial bottling, pushed for the statute, Missouri Revised Statutes 364.010 to 364.030. The effect is broader. Draw too much from your own spring, and the state can fine you $300. The message is unmistakable. Nature's cleanest water is no longer yours to use freely. Yet a 2021 U.S. Army Corps of Engineers field report confirmed what generations already knew. A well-built spring house can deliver 500 liters per day with turbidity below 1 NTU, often cleaner than city taps. Sand filtration followed where springs ran thin. Early homesteads in California and the Great Plains dug sand beds 1 meter deep, sending well or spring water through slow, steady layers. The materials, sand, concrete, and a day's labor cost less than $50. Every 6 months, the top layer was scraped and replaced. The method, unchanged for a century, stripped out visible impurities and most bacteria. Today, California Health and Safety Code 17945.04 requires any non-potable filtration system to meet NSFA NSI 61 standards, a rule championed by the California Water Treatment Manufacturers Association. Their members profit from certified filters and proprietary media. The penalty for a home-built sand filter can reach $1,000. The justification is always safety, but the outcome is clear. Only manufacturers can filter water, and only if you buy their product. Yet a 2019 water research study found that a half-meter slow sand filter built to historic dimensions removes 99% of E. coli, matching or exceeding municipal systems. Grey water reuse kept gardens alive through drought. In Oregon and the Pacific Northwest, families routed wash water from sinks and tubs into raised beds with wooden troughs and a bit of slope. Untreated lumber cost $20 a length. Each spring, troughs were flushed and checked for leaks, and the water, already used once for washing, fed beans and squash instead of running to waste. Oregon Administrative Rule 555-040-010 now requires a no-contact grey water system with a 70-gallon detention basin, a rule promoted by the Oregon Agricultural Extension Service. Permits and engineering are mandatory, and fines for non-compliance start at $175. The stated reason is risk management, but the effect is to push ordinary families out of their own gardens. The USDA 2020 technical note confirms that grey water irrigation done as before can cut household water use by 30% without harming soil or crops. Spring houses, sand filters, and grey water irrigation, each born of necessity, and each proven by generations, are now fenced off by codes. The pattern repeats, nature's logic replaced by bureaucracy, ancestral skill replaced by dependence, and the price of breaking the rules measured in fines, not harm. The evidence stands in field reports and journals, but the law remains. The loss is not just water, it is the right to provide for yourself, on your own land, with your own hands. A root cellar basin was once a hallmark of mountain resourcefulness. Families in the Rockies dug shallow depressions into north-facing slopes, lined them with packed earth, and covered them with cedar planks. Water was drawn by bucket pole, kept cool and dark beneath layers of soil. The cost was measured in sweat and a few dollars worth of cedar, about $25 then, $450 today. No one asked permission. The only law was gravity and the rhythm of the seasons. Now, Colorado Revised Statute 38-30-102 forbids unlined surface water impoundments over 500 gallons without a permit. The Colorado Water Conservation Board, citing the need to protect downstream fisheries, lobbied for the restriction. Their true concern was control. Every gallon stored off-grid is a gallon unmetered, unbilled, and unaccounted for. The penalty for an unpermitted basin runs $400 per violation. Yet a 2022 Army Corps of Engineers study found that hillside basins retain 85% of captured runoff for irrigation, with almost no seepage. The method works. The law says stop. Creek diversion was the backbone of ranching in Texas. In the 1930s, a rancher could carve a wooden flume for $30 and a stone weir for $45, guiding water from a creek into a pasture pond. Each spring, the diversion gate was adjusted by hand, the flow watched and managed as carefully as the herd. For small operations, this was the difference between green grass and dust. Today, Texas Natural Resources Code 11.053 requires a creek diversion permit and mandates that at least 10% of the historic average flow must be preserved downstream. The Texas Cattlemen's Association, eager to protect large-scale ranchers and their own market share, pushed for an exemption. Only farms under 100 acres qualify. For everyone else, the penalty for unauthorized diversion is $500. The justification is resource management, but the effect is the opposite. The smallest ranchers are squeezed out, and the state's spreadsheet replaces local judgment. Texas A&M's 2021 Extension Report measured a 12% increase in forage yield from a 500-gallon diversion, with no measurable impact downstream. The practice is proven. The law makes it a privilege. Dug ponds once dotted the Midwest like freckles on the land. Pioneer families spent 200 hours with shovels and horse-driven tampers to carve out a 3-meter-deep basin lined with straw and clay. The total cost, $15 for clay, a few more for straw, was a fraction of the price of a modern irrigation hookup. These ponds caught rain, stored snowmelt, and provided water for livestock and crops through the driest months. There was no paperwork, no oversight, only the expectation that each family would tend their own water. Iowa Code 481.1 now requires a permit from the Department of Natural Resources for any pond over half an acre. The Iowa Water Association, representing both utilities and groundwater consultants, lobbied for stricter permitting to protect recharge zones, a concern that conveniently aligns with their business interests. The fine for an unlicensed pond is $350. The EPA's 2022 Constructed Wetlands Guide confirms that historic dug ponds remove 70% of nitrogen from runoff, outperforming many engineered solutions. The evidence is on the land. The law is on the books. Across these three methods, the pattern is unbroken. The land itself is now subject to licensing, fines, and bureaucratic permission. Where a root cellar basin, a creek flume, or a dug pond once meant security, today each is a potential violation. The price of independence is counted in penalties, not in effort or ingenuity. The logic is always cloaked in the language of stewardship, but the result is the same. Grandfather's tools are forbidden, and the right to use your own land is sold back to you, one permit at a time. A shallow ditch once meant survival for Utah farmers. Grandfathers shaped channels with shovels, guiding runoff to fields, opening timber gates weekly, closing them when the ground was finally damp. The cost was a few dollars in wood, long hours of labor, and the silent understanding that water on your land was yours to use. No permits, no paperwork, just necessity and trust. Now, that same ditch is a violation. Utah Code 54-2401 restricts unregulated ditch irrigation to half an acre unless a water right is held. The Utah Irrigation Association, representing utility contractors and large-scale suppliers, lobbied for a 2019 exception that narrowly defines family farms, leaving most smallholders exposed. Fines reach $250 per infraction. The stated reason is resource management, but the real effect is unmistakable. Every gate and channel is mapped, every flow watched, and the risk of penalty hangs over what was once a simple act of survival. In the Appalachian foothills, spring tapping followed a similar path. Families would carve stone around a bubbling spring, set a wooden trough, and filter water through sand. The setup cost less than $60 in today's money. Water flowed by gravity, cold and clean, serving homes for generations. West Virginia, Code 47-12-104 now requires a license for any extraction over 10 gallons a day. The West Virginia Water Supply Council, a coalition of municipal utilities, pushed for the rule, citing public supply protection. Unauthorized tapping brings a $120 fine. The motive is plain. Every gallon drawn from the ground is one less sold by the water company. Yet a 2023 survey by the United States Geological Survey found that sand-filtered spring water contains 0.1 milligrams per liter of dissolved solids, often purer than municipal sources. These rules did not appear by chance. The American Water Works Association, representing utility interests, circulated a 1944 memo warning that private ditches, wells, and spring taps cost municipal systems millions. They calculated a $12 annual loss per household for every family bypassing the meter. Their answer was a single, uniform code to outlaw off-grid systems under the banner of public health and efficiency. That blueprint became the 1915 Uniform Plumbing Code, mandating that new homes connect to public mains. Its language echoed in state statutes for decades. The American Water Works Association and its allies supplied model ordinances and legal counsel, offering free engineering studies to city councils in exchange for franchise rights. Local ingenuity gave way to a rigid, one-size-fits-all system, enforced by fines and inspectors. Modern science affirms the old ways. A 2020 model by the United States Geological Survey showed that well-maintained roadside ditches in semi-arid Utah add 15% to seasonal irrigation without harming downstream flows. Spring tapped water, filtered through sand, meets or exceeds Environmental Protection Agency drinking standards. Yet the law stands with the meter and the bill, each new restriction shifting power from families to utility boardrooms, one code and one fine at a time. In the forests of the Pacific Northwest, families once carved hollow cedar logs, sealing each joint with pine pitch to carry spring water home. Each pipe cost about $30 and days of labor, but the result was a leak-free lifeline. The pipes were checked and resealed every season. These wooden conduits, crafted by hand, served for generations, until the Oregon Plumbing Code outlawed them. A STMD 2105, written by the PVC pipe lobby and adopted in 2015, now bans any non-metallic waterline not factory certified. The official reason is to prevent leaks and contamination. The reality is a $700 fine for anyone using timber and a market locked in for plastic. Yet the 2021 Army Corps of Engineers manual still lists wooden log pipes as viable for emergency water supply under 500 gallons per day. The method stands up in the field. The law says otherwise. In Arizona's deserts, settlers dug trenches and filled them with layers of basalt and sand, building rock filter beds for less than $30. These beds stripped sediment from creek water. Their top layers were scraped and refreshed as needed. For generations, families relied on them to keep water clean. But Arizona revised statute 45-250-001, pushed by the Arizona Sand and Gravel Association in 2018, now requires all filtration media to meet EPA filterbed performance standards. Only certified, manufactured media are allowed. Home-built filters draw a $200 penalty. Local sand and stone are banned unless they come with paperwork. A 2019 Journal of Water Resources study found these traditional rock beds remove over 95% of turbidity, matching commercial systems. The evidence is there. The restriction is economic. Across the Midwest, the willow rod guided hands to water. A forked branch, a slow walk, and a little faith often led to a spring or shallow vein. Wells were dug, capped with clay, and served for decades. The cost was nothing but belief and effort. But suspicion grew. In Colorado, the Water Resources Party and the well drillers' lobby backed a 2021 statute banning commercial dowsing claims. The concern was that unlicensed discovery threatened regulated drilling and water rights. Now, any unregistered source found by dowsing brings a $200 fine. The justification is consumer protection. The reality is protection of market share. Still, a 2022 USGS technical note found traditional dowsing matched random site selection at 5%, but in some sedimentary basins, success reached 68%. The method persists because it sometimes works. The law makes no room for folk wisdom. Wooden pipes, rock beds, willow rods, each a mark of rural self-reliance, each now ringed by statutes and fines. Ancestral knowledge isn't just dismissed, it is penalized. The rules favor those who profit from dependence, not skill. Yet in the lab and in the field, these old systems still meet the metrics. What's lost isn't only water. It's the right to trust your own hands. Charcoal filters, once common across Nevada during the Dust Bowl, turned firewood and clay into clean water. Families paid $10 for wood, $8 for a ceramic pot, and boiled the charcoal weekly. A 2021 Environmental Science and Technology study found low-temperature charcoal removes 99.9% of bacteria, rivaling modern filters. But Nevada statutes now require NSFA NSI 42 certification. Homemade charcoal brings a $350 fine, a rule pushed by the Nevada Water Purification Association in 2020. The law claims safety. The evidence says the old ways work. In Massachusetts, ice houses lined with sawdust and straw kept river water cold through the summer. Timber and insulation cost $35, and hand pumps drew water just above freezing. Today, Massachusetts General Laws 166-20-7 cap ice storage at 5,000 gallons unless inspected, a rule the Dairy Council championed. The USDA 2020 report confirms underground tanks hold water at 4 degrees Celsius for half a year, losing less than 1%. The penalty for uninspected storage is a $150 fine. The method is proven, but the law draws a line. Mississippi settlers dug sand pits, built wooden piston pumps, and greased rods with animal fat. $20 covered materials. These hand pumps drew up to 20 liters a minute, enough for a family and livestock. Now, Mississippi Code 31-7-115 requires registration for pumps over 5 gallons a day. The Mississippi Rural Water Association, backed by municipal suppliers, lobbied for it in 2017. Skip registration, pay $50. A 2022 USGS study confirms these pumps are sustainable. The law disagrees. In Arizona, unglazed clay ollers buried near crops cost $3 each and cut water use by 30%, as shown in a 2021 sustainability journal. Arizona law now demands modern efficiency standards, and unapproved ollers mean a $100 fine. The pots work. The rules say otherwise. Old solutions proven by science now carry a price. Federal scientists now publish what grandfathers once practiced in secret. The Environmental Protection Agency's 2022 Green Infrastructure Toolbox, the United States Geological Survey's Field Bulletins, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency's Emergency Water Guides all confirm that the old off-grid tricks not only work, they excel. Yet in the same breath, these methods are outlawed for regular use, their benefits confined to disaster manuals and research papers, not daily life. Fog nets, for example, once dotted Appalachian ridgelines. Grandparents strung nylon mesh between cedar posts, letting mountain fog condense and drip into wooden troughs. The materials cost less than $30, the yield enough to supply a family through the dry season. North Carolina's code now limits fog harvest to 200 gallons a day without a water right permit. The North Carolina Fog Harvest Association, under pressure from the state's Water Allocation Board, lobbied for the cap to prevent atmospheric overuse, a concept unheard of in grandfather's time. The penalty for exceeding the limit is $200 per violation. Yet a 2022 United Nations field study declared fog nets the most water-efficient passive collectors in arid zones, outperforming many modern systems. DUW collection was another quiet innovation. Each night, a canvas or plastic sheet was stretched over a frame, angled to catch the dawn's condensation. Collected water trickled into a basin, ready for the day's chores. The cost was nearly nothing: a tarp, a few poles, an hour's labor. Today, statutes in several western states classify any atmospheric water capture device as a water right, requiring paperwork and a $75 permit. The motive, as always, is control. Water that never touches the ground is now claimed by the state before it reaches your bucket. A 2021 Science Advances article found dew collection could meet 10% of household demand in humid climates, yet the law makes it a privilege, not a right. The irony is sharp. The same agencies that fine you for collecting fog or dew now cite these methods as best practices for resilience and emergency response. The science is not in doubt. The methods are proven. The only thing disallowed is independence. Each fine, each permit, is a reminder that the right to harvest the sky has been priced and sold, one drop at a time. Sap water, cattle ponds, and solar stills, once the backbone of rural self-reliance, are now targets for regulation. In New England, tapping maples for sap was a seasonal rite. Grandfathers filled galvanized buckets, boiled down syrup, and drank the clear runoff when wells ran dry. The only cost was labor. Today, Vermont's health codes classify unpasteurized sap as a hazard. Sharing it can bring a $60 fine. The official reason is pathogen control, but the effect is to cut off a traditional safety net. Cattle ponds, dug by hand and sealed with clay, kept livestock alive through drought for generations. A pond could be built for the price of a shovel and a day's work. Now, the Kansas Water Appropriation Act demands a permit for any pond over 12 acre inches. The Kansas Livestock Association secured an exemption, but only for large operations. Smallholders face $500 fines for unpermitted ponds. The justification is resource tracking. Every off-grid gallon is one less for the ledger, the tax roll, the bill. Solar stills, cobbled together from scrap glass and metal, could turn muddy water into something safe to drink. Military manuals still recommend them, promising nearly 2 liters a day in desert heat. A homemade still costs less than $15. But in California, municipal codes require licensed distillation for any water used regularly or sold. Do-it-yourself stills are labeled unapproved, with $110 fines for unauthorized use. The stated aim is public safety, and the outcome is forced dependence. Each law, each fine, tightens the grip. The old blueprint, sap from the tree, water from the earth, purity from sunlight, once spelled independence. Now those same acts are grounds for penalty. Sovereignty over water has shifted from birthright to privilege, rationed by code and enforced by fine. Today, nearly 90% of Americans rely on centralized water. Laws once justified by safety now enforce dependence, shaping daily life and erasing basic skills of self-sufficiency. Each new restriction widens the gap between ancestral knowledge and engineered reliance. The question isn't whether the old ways work. They do. It's who profits when independence disappears and who pays the price for forgetting how to provide for ourselves. What will you do with that knowledge?